Episode 162 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded December 13th, 2017. Happy and the Crown. Not all of our titles can be original, folks.
Look, we knock some things around. We try for some puns. We try for some clever wordplay, but we're just not bringing it this week. I'm sorry.
I mean, there are probably some similarities we could draw between these shows, but it's a little bit tough.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. One of them is about a hitman and an imaginary horse, and the other one
is happy.
Is happy. Oh, I should have watched The Crown.
The Crown is fucking nuts.
It's weird.
Dude.
Okay.
You didn't get to the episode where Patton Oswalt has a cameo on The Crown?
I did not. I would watch that,
bad.
actually.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. You know, yeah, that's right, folks. We're going to be talking about Happy, a brand new show over on SyFy. We've only watched the pilot that just came out, so we'll be discussing that madness. And we're also going to be talking about Season 2 of The Crown over on Netflix. But before we get into all that, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
I'm Ashley.
Ashley, welcome back.
Thank you. I have missed you guys so much.
We just recorded, although we haven't released it yet, our best of the year, and we missed out on having you there.
I know. I was really sad. I'm glad I got to vote.
Yes, you got to vote.
I got to vote. I got my voice heard.
Yes.
You know, for the people.
No, we actually we said Ashley's got some honorable mentions, but it's just some bullshit, so we just kind of skip past it.
Yeah, anything I voted for actually got a minus in Randy's scientific approach.
Yeah.
You know, as I understand it, last year when I had to bail out because I was sick, my picks got represented as a 30-second. Oh, and Randy wanted to mention these three shows.
I really feel like, Grant, and I nailed that. And also, that's your fault for being a pussy. I'm clearly sick, as you can hear. But where am I, Randy? Am I at home crying like a little girl?
No, you're sitting next to me, infecting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And whoever uses this mic next, I do it for you guys. I do it for you guys.
We just want to say, if you guys like what you're hearing and you want more of this banter, you can help us out. Go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Write a little review there. That helps us out. You can do that for all of our shows on the Permanent Record Network.
Permanent Record.
And we're pimping our buddies, The Good Die Young, which is Les's brand new project. It is at thegooddieyoungtv.com. He's on his 5th episode, I believe, so he's about nearing the halfway point of his project, where he's doing a deep dive into the one and done season of The Middleman, which came out in 2008, I believe.
Yep, complete with a ton of different interviews, and it's a little pattern that we established on Beach Cop Detectives.
Yeah. And yeah, go check it out. He's doing a great job over there.
And not having a nervous breakdown, so he is not doing the one thing we did pattern on Beach Cop Detectives.
That's true. The advice I believe we gave him was front load as much as you can, because otherwise you're going to freak out like we did.
Yep.
We also wanted to mention that if you guys want to help us out, you can go to patreon.com/tvdudes, make a per episode pledge. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there was some news about Patreon this last week, because they sort of, without like really consulting people, changed their business model, and they were charging they were taking all the service fees that usually us TV dudes pay on our end, and they were instead applying that to you, the patrons, who are already paying to help sponsor us. So instead of like giving $1, you're going to suddenly be charged like $1.32, and that's per show that you are like giving money to. So this was a switch that upset a lot of people.
Yes.
Voices were heard. We didn't know about this until it happened too. And, you know, some people lost patrons because of this.
Yep.
Patreon admitted they messed up, and they backtracked on that whole thing. So if in case you guys were worried that all of a sudden you're going to get upcharged on that, you're not. I believe the system's going to stay as it is. And yeah,
That
we just wanted to give you guys a heads up.
Rapid fire turnaround. Like, I've never seen one react that quickly. It must have terrified them.
People were pissed.
Yeah.
The internet was not into it. Imagine that. And they were blunt in their thoughts on that.
But usually the internet has no effect on anything.
Yeah, but it turns out internet-sponsored payment apps, if you will.
If you live on the internet, you need the internet to be on board.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
As far as I can tell, no one actually left from doing Patreon for us, which I want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting us and stuck through Patreon's shenanigans in the last week. That's really awesome, you guys. But also, Alex Mitchell, one of our patrons, upped his donation.
Wow.
So thank you so much, Alex. That's amazing.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's move on to our listener questions. So once a week, Randy puts up a little question post over on Facebook. That's at facebook.com/tvdudes. And you guys can ask us basically whatever you want.
Yeah. Sometimes I do it the Monday of. Sometimes I forget until about 2 hours before the podcast.
Ideally, you guys will ask us stuff that's TV related. And it's amazing that you just put this up and we already have a bunch of questions.
Because our listeners are the best.
Yeah, they're awesome. All right, let's hit it up. First one comes to us from Kin Ibanez. Says, all right, I don't know if you guys have watched Cowboy Bebop, but there's an episode in that show that pays homage to Alien that I absolutely love. My question is, what is your favorite episode in any TV show that paid homage to something you loved?
So I have watched Cowboy Bebop, but not all of it, and I don't remember the Alien episode, and I really should go rewatch it.
I heard great things about Cowboy Bebop, and I don't like anime, and I heard one of the few that transcends.
It's really good.
Yeah, I should
tropes.
I should loan you. I got the Blu-ray, and I think I have the DVD, so I should give you the DVD so you could catch up on it.
I don't need DVDs. I'll just bootleg it.
Whatever.
I mean, I guess recent examples, I really liked the Sandman shout-out in Rick and Morty recently. It was pretty sweet.
The Sandman shout-out?
Yeah, wasn't that a Sandman shout-out?
In which episode?
In the recent season, I want to say like in towards the end, in like this super near the end.
The Atlantis one, where they're like they did a whole bunch of different homages to like Stand By Me.
Oh, I don't remember the Sandman.
Yeah, it was in the opening sequence, I thought.
Oh, okay.
Was that not Sandman? I thought it was.
I don't
Maybe
remember.
It isn't.
I'm trying to remember, but now I'm thinking like they probably
Let me
did
see
have
if I can
Sandman
get an episode
like
number.
walking around in there.
Well, I mean, Rick and Morty does have
the internet.
Rick and Morty does have a ton of call-outs. Like that's one of the things they do really well.
And speaking of Dan Harmon, we could think about Community and their entire episodes that they dedicate to some other show. What what was the one where they do the homage to the documentary style of Ken Burns?
Yeah, the Pillow Fort. Yeah.
Pillow Fort one.
Yeah. I mean, every episode of that. I mean, Modern Warfare, of course, was fantastic. All the Modern Warfares.
The Goodfellas episode.
The Law and Order one. Yeah, the Community is probably the best answer.
Yeah.
It looks a super cursory internet search. It looks like it's the one where his mind is blown, where like every time they have to erase his mind.
Okay.
Because something so horrible has happened. He can't handle it.
Mind blowers.
Yeah, mind blowers. I think it's like episode 13. I think has a shout out.
Okay. All right.
All right. Next question comes to us from Dennis McElwain, who says, the Christmas break hurts lots of shows' ratings. Which shows are you worried will suffer this break? Also, less is wrong. Shannara is bad. Stuck in an elevator with Rob Schneider and a bag of burning crap bad.
I would have liked it if it was just a hard stop. By the way, less is wrong. just hard stop.
All encompassing. Everything Les says.
I don't know why he feels the need to be redundant and talk about Rob Schneider and a bag of flaming crap.
It's
the same thing. You have one or the other. I don't have an opinion on Shannara Chronicles, but
no, like what shows are you worried will suffer over the Christmas break, like ratings wise?
Good Place is already renewed, so I don't think I care.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I can't think of anything running right now where it's like, is it going to make it? Most of the things I'm kind of concerned about, they're getting renewed.
It's kind of nice. Everything's safe. Like Star Trek Discovery's coming back.
Yeah,
everything's safe. I'm good.
Sorry to be a little lame there.
Like
I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing on the network where I care if it goes away or comes back.
Yeah,
like the Orville, I'm mildly interested in seeing the Orville, but I don't care, and I think it's already been renewed too.
That's sad. I could take or leave the Orville.
Yeah,
I could take or leave it, but I'm glad it's there, so I have something to fall back on.
Yeah, same. That's how I feel about it too.
Yeah, it's a nice, there's like those shows I leave on in the background when I'm like cleaning or something.
Yeah.
It's like a new version of that. So, if I don't want it Cheers on, then
right.
Orville.
Yeah.
Nick Ty says, hey dudes, I am all caught up on Arrow and I have a question. Is Wild Dog only there to be the resident dumb guy? Every episode, he has a line telling Felicity and or Curtis to say it in English. Is there a way you guys can think of avoiding this trope?
That is tricky because it's like the point of view character, which has become such a problem where you have the guy who doesn't know how the Force works, so you can explain to him what all the processes are. It's required because you either do that or you go the David Simon route and you're like, listen, viewers, just keep up.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of prefer the David Simon route.
Me too.
I don't need that dumb point of view guy. You use as much technobabble as you want, and you might lose me as a viewer.
But Wild Dog is there because we do not have enough hockey mask wearing guys with machine guns.
Oh, is that who this guy is?
That's literally who he is.
I am not caught up on Arrow, but I hear that his name is Wild Dog.
Wild Dog.
And I hear he wears a hockey mask.
Yep.
I'm going to go with yes. He's just there to be the dumb guy.
Casey Jones and Punisher had a baby.
Wild Dog. Okay, this is from an 80s comic. And his name, he had like his costume was a sports jersey from the team, the Wild Dogs. Like, I cannot believe this character is on TV, and I love the CW for it.
All right, let's move on. Jonathan Haptemichael says, "Hi, dudes. Has Peak TV made us more particular and snobbish in our choice of television? My friend was trying to determine why most of us in our social circle gave up on or hated The Punisher, and all of the other friends at least liked it. He tried to blame the golden age of television and Game of Thrones on my group's discerning tastes. I pointed out at least 3 shows from every major cable network, the entire Netflix and Amazon Prime catalog, and stuff on Hulu that is not The Handmaid's Tale. How do you balance watching what you want to watch and what to watch just to keep up socially?" I mean, there's a couple different things going on there.
So I didn't watch The Punisher because I don't like The Punisher
Fair.
as a concept.
I think Les had a few things to say about that.
Les went on a rant. I was like, I'm the only one who watched it, so I was like, oh, well, I kind of like this and I like that. And Les is like, I have feelings. I didn't watch it. It's bullshit.
It takes me back to like my high school years, or like me and my girlfriends would be standing around and she'd like, that boy on the skateboard's kind of cute. I was like, no, girl, he's in a Punisher t-shirt. Just say no to boys in Punisher t-shirts.
That's probably a good general rule.
Yeah,
actually.
general rule. I adopted it at a young age. I stick by it.
My usual method is I watch. I find the shows I really want to watch. I keep up with, and then the ones that I only watch for the show, which is I guess my version of keeping up socially, I watch the week I have to.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's how I balance it. If a show doesn't keep my interest enough that I want to keep up with it, I just ditch it at this point. There's nothing where I have to watch something. Like, I don't watch Walking Dead, and I work at a comic store, and there's a lot of people who are like, you don't watch that show, and like, I just don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't miss that much conversation. You can tell me anything you want about Walking Dead.
7 years into our relationship, I just watch whatever Randy tells me.
Well, good. This is good. I would like everyone to have this relationship with me, and I'd be much happier.
You have me trained now. You
Yes.
make the schedule, I look and go, that's my homework assignment for the week.
Good,
Gotta
Grant.
get to it.
Good. Here's your treat.
Well, that's like me and my reading list. I just read whatever he tells me to read, and it's always great.
I am the puppet master.
But do you guys think that we are more particular and snobbish in our choice of TV nowadays?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because we can be. I don't think that anybody ever would have chosen not to be. It's just that there was both a limited amount of really quality programming, and you were also limited by when you were able to sit and watch the programs that you were able to watch.
Yeah.
And you were kind of, with those two things combined, Friends it is.
Yeah, that's what we got to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And then
only Randy's happy.
Pretty much. And basically for me, I mean, I think back to like when I was in college or, a little bit before then, I would just watch that, hour where they would show reruns of The Simpsons and Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that was the best thing that was on. And now we have just a plethora of great programming and I can watch it whenever I want.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not just prestige TV, it's streaming.
Yeah.
Streaming has totally changed the way we watch TV because not only is the current stuff competing against the other current stuff, it's competing against like 40 years of television.
But the market is intentional as well. Like, they're all aiming for their little niche pocket.
Yeah.
They want to target a very particular group who likes a very specific genre of soap opera vampires and the Vampire Diaries or whatever. Like, they want that group, and they know how to just thread that needle. They're not trying to make a show that's good for all audiences anymore.
Yeah.
That's true. And the thing is, there is such a wide, there's niches for everywhere. So like there is probably someone out there doing a deep dive Blue Bloods podcast, right? I mean, that's definitely happening.
A podcast? I mean, I don't know. It depends on if that's the audience that also podcasts.
I'm tempted to Google, but I bet someone's doing a Blue Bloods podcast where they keep up with every episode of whatever's going on that show.
There's a rule about the internet.
That's true.
Yeah, if you can think of it.
Yeah. Also, there's porn of it. Blue Bloods porn.
Absolutely.
I'll take a second during our break to check, and we'll come back to find out if there's a Blue Bloods podcast.
Inquiring minds must know.
But in the meantime, our last question comes to us from our buddy Kyle Volti, who says, first, let me say, Hauska Julia. I don't know what that is. TV dudes, that's Finnish for Merry Christmas. I'm sure I butchered it. Is there an American family that you would like to see a Crown-like series about?
No.
I feel like the correct answer is probably the Kennedys, but I was going to say the Obamas.
Oh, shit. I watched that.
Because they're delightful.
Yeah.
And their buddies, the Bidens, come over.
I know, exactly. And their buddies, the Bidens, come over, and instead of being born into it, they earned it through hard work and studying.
I don't think that show's going to go very well. I don't think there's a lot
I
of
feel like
conflict.
people are going to love it.
Yeah.
It's going to be niche
It's
for
like-
only
It's gonna
about
be-
for only about 60% of the country.
It'll be like The West Wing, but real.
Yeah, exactly.
But may I suggest a slight modifier to your pitch?
You may.
Joe Biden is the Biden from The Onion,
I'm listening.
and it's a sitcom. Tell me you wouldn't watch 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour of Joe Biden being that Biden every
Just
week.
Here's the
Obama's
thing.
the straight man.
Yes.
I could tell you I wouldn't watch that, but I'd be lying.
You'd be lying.
I would be lying through my teeth. I'd watch the shit out of that.
I do think the Kennedys, I'm kind of surprised they haven't done it and someone's not developing it because it does seem like an obvious one. They're America's political dynasty.
Yeah.
But I also think going back to like the 30s, like some of those robber barons, like Carnegie and some of those guys, it'd probably be interesting to look into their family and that kind of thing.
Like
The Kardashians could be cool.
Yeah, I feel like we have that.
Just an audible
Both of us look disgusted.
revulsion. Okay, we looked into this, guys.
Yep.
And Randy, sure enough, found a podcast dedicated to Randy's favorite show, Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods. Yep. They did one season. They did like season 5 back in 2013.
It's called TV Talk Blue Bloods. There's a Stitcher page that we found for it. And yeah, it looks like they did like 12, 15 episodes.
Like I said, there's a podcast for everything.
Each one's about a 20-minute episode reviewing an episode of the show. And how many seasons has this gone on?
Blue Bloods is in the midst of season 8.
That is insane. I thought maybe it was like 3 seasons or so.
No, that means it started like the year after Middleman ended and is still going.
It's older than us. Blue
Yes.
Bloods is somehow older than us.
Yes, Blue Bloods is eternal. Blue Bloods has been and always will be.
Oh, boy.
Later, we're going to find a picture of all of us podcasters, and the people who did the Blue Bloods one have always been there.
Yes.
They'll be like
Yeah.
dated 1939.
All right, guys, you ready for some news?
Yeah, there's some news this week.
We did. We got a bunch of renewals going on. So I'm just going to run through the list of things that got renewed. Mr. Robot officially renewed for season 4. Marvel's Punisher is getting a season 2 officially happening.
Much to the delight of Ashley and Les.
Can't wait.
Big Little Lies is getting a second season with a brand new director, but I didn't watch the first season yet.
I watched the first episode and hated it, but I need to go back and see if I like it better now.
Everyone raves about this, and I
know.
think it's got better and better. And I only watched the first episode. I was actually kind of digging it, but
Yeah, I might give it a chance when I find, if I have time amongst the other hundreds of shows I watch.
Prison Break is somehow getting a 6th season. I don't know how that's happening
I don't
because
either.
that 5th one was so bad, and the show has just lost any of its charm.
Well, what you
So
don't,
is he still in prison?
Yeah, he is not. When he breaks out, that ends the show, right?
It needs to be Prison Break in space, right?
Oh, Prison Break in space, or it might cross over with season 9 of Blue Bloods.
Oh, I want it to be Prison Break 7, Leprechaun in prison.
Oh yes.
Okay, well, it looks like there's a new show being developed over on FX. Welcome to Night Vale. And Randy, you're familiar with this podcast, right?
I fell off of it just not because it was bad, because there's just so much of it. But Welcome to Night Vale is basically a sort of what if all the conspiracies were true version of like Lake Wobegon stories. So it's like this radio DJ in this town where there's, the mayor is this weird cult person, and there's a dog park you're not supposed to look into, and it's like sort of off kilter, conspiracy theory, supernatural stuff. It's hard to describe, but it's a really fun vibe, and I can totally see an FX show based on this.
So it's all like this one weird town called Night Vale where all of those crazy things that you think are happening actually do happen?
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah.
Okay. And it looks like Jennifer Hutchison from Better Call Saul, one of the executive producers there, will actually be serving as executive producer on this show.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, it's an FX. I generally think they're the right people to develop just about anything.
Yeah. So keeping an eye out for that. She-Ra, do you guys remember this show from the 80s?
Here's what I know. There was a show called She-Ra, and I think she was He-Man's sister.
She is He-Man's cousin, I believe.
Yes. She also had a sword and a horse with wings, a Pegasus, if you will.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So in that sense, kind of a tie-in.
Yeah, to this week's episode. Good.
Correct.
So She-Ra is going to be developed on Netflix, and it's going to be developed by the
Hasbro.
By the lady who created the comic series Lumberjanes.
Yeah, Noelle Stevenson.
Noelle Stevenson. So
and DreamWorks is involved too, which are by the way the guys who did Voltron.
Oh yeah.
So you tell me that the Lumberjanes person, Lumberjanes is definitely aimed at younger girls comic that's really really good. She's doing it with DreamWorks. That we may get something cool out of She-Ra, maybe like Voltron level awesome.
She-Ra focuses on the adventures of Adora, Princess of Eternia, which is the same place where He-Man comes from.
A lot of ES.
Abducted as an infant and taken to the neighboring world of Etheria, Adora was raised by the villainous Hordak and trained to be a general in his evil horde. Adora was unaware of her origins until the arrival of He-Man, who was secretly her long-lost twin brother, Adam. Okay, they are brother and sister.
Oh, good call.
With the truth revealed, Adora joined the rebellion against Hordak and took up a magic sword that transformed her into She-Ra, granting her a variety of fantastic magic powers, including super strength and a healing touch.
You know,
She got the touch.
That actually sounds way more badass. I can see a cool version of that.
Right?
Yeah, there's a little bit of fourth world going in there with the bad guy having this adoptive kid that he's trying to make evil, but her innate goodness shines through. That's cool.
It seems like it has more depth than He-Man ever did.
Yeah.
And I was addicted to that as a kid.
I'm going to guess it has more depth than She-Ra ever did, too.
That's probably true.
Going out on a limb, I got nothing to base that on. Just my gut.
You are probably correct. All right, and we got one last story here, guys, and this one sounds kind of crazy. So there's this new product from Samsung Electronics Nordic, and it's a service called Unspoil Me. Now, Randy, did you read about this?
I read this, and here's what I think. This is some Black Mirror bullshit that either this is not true or it's why we're all going to be brainwashed slaves of the corporations in Nordic land in the future.
Okay, so what this thing is claiming is that if you hear a spoiler, if you see a spoiler, read something about something, you can watch this, and some sort of
self-hypnosis
will make you forget what you were exactly spoiled about in a certain TV show.
And also, you'll mysteriously want to buy a bunch of products.
Digitally hypnotizing you. Yeah, that sounds fucked up.
That is not a good... First of all, no one should be hypnotizing themselves. That's a bad idea. Second, you don't want Samsung Nordic telling you what to do. That's crazy.
You know what? I kind of want to try this out, though.
Yeah?
I don't know how we can get our hands on this, but I feel like this needs to be something we follow up on in another episode. We need to try this out. And you need to watch an entire episode of Blue Bloods, and then we're going to try and convince you did not watch it.
The best part about all this is that Randy's going to have to watch Blue Bloods.
I know. This is. I know this is all just a trick to get me to watch Blue Bloods.
Yes.
And then later when our friends ask and you try to deny watching Blue Bloods and being a huge fan, we'll have to be like, no, he's the only one of us who's seen any of it.
And I'll be like, I don't remember anything.
All right, guys, so we're going to be talking about Happy first and then The Crown. And I just realized that Ashley and Randy both saw Future Man and are super excited about it, but haven't had a chance to proselytize.
That's right.
So maybe
God,
we'll,
Future Man.
Yeah, maybe we'll hit on that a little bit after we hit our main two shows. But first up, Happy is this brand new dark, I don't even know if you call it comedy, dark.
It's a dark comedy. It's definitely a dark comedy.
Dark comedy over on SyFy, and it stars Chris Maloney as an ex-cop, a disgraced ex-cop who's now a hitman.
Yep.
And he comes across an imaginary friend that takes the form of a talking, flying horse, and that horse is voiced by Patton Oswalt.
Yep.
And this is fucking crazy.
It's bonkers.
It's super violent.
Yep.
It says fuck left and right.
Yep.
It almost has nudity.
They shied just a little bit away from it, but there's definitely a dude in a lobster suit getting a blowjob.
And there's a lady in a car. And yeah, they this is on SyFy. I don't know. This is just kind of crazy to
It
me.
does not feel like a sci-fi show, and that's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
This feels more like, it really does feel like AMC's Preacher when it was firing on cylinders for me. Like when I was liking that show. Mm-hmm. It is bonkers. I've read this comic. It is by Grant Morrison. It is art by Derek Robertson, who did Transmetropolitan. It is bonkers crazy, and I loved it. And I think this is a pretty great translation of it.
Chris Maloney is fantastic.
He's amazing.
Playing just this. I mean, I don't really even know what to make of the guy yet, because it seems like I think whenever you hear in a story that like someone was an ex-cop and they're the protagonist, that you kind of want to root for them and hope that like they still have that twinge of wanting justice and to do good.
But he's a complete waste of space.
I don't know. I don't know if this guy is just a terrible person who left the force because he's a bad cop.
Yeah. Maloney is playing this guy, and he's basically always on the tail end of a bender.
Yeah.
Whether it's pills or booze or something, he is just barely here.
And he looks like he's acting like he has a complete death wish.
Yeah.
Like wherever he goes into a situation, guns blazing, and welcomes the opportunity for someone else to take a shot at him. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. He's not suicidal, but he doesn't have any particular opinions about living.
Death by botched hit job, I think, is in his wheelhouse.
Yeah. But he's also very smart. You know, he manages to manipulate his enemies into bringing themselves into a place where he can take them all out. And then there's the mob family, like those Goomba dudes. They're all
Scaramucci brothers.
They're such doofuses. I did not feel bad for a second when they all got murdered, but I thought it was hilarious the way they played them up.
I feel like them having the name Scaramucci also lends to us going, expendable.
I also there's a storyline going with a little kid who gets kidnapped by an evil Santa. Who's clearly got some weird issues. He's like locking him in boxes. He's not
pretty creepy.
It's pretty creepy. And that's where Happy comes in, because Happy is the imaginary friend of Hannah, one of the girls who was kidnapped. He goes looking for help, and he finds this hitman. And there's a reason he finds this hitman that we find out at the very end of the episode.
Because it's the Hannah's father.
Yes. Spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I imagine anyone listening to this probably should watch it. Or I'm just encouraging you to watch it because it was good.
I really liked this. And I think, Grant, you were a little more uncertain than me, but I know where this is going. And it looks like they've pretty much hitched their wagon to the graphic novel. I mean, Morrison's involved in it. So I'm excited to see it adapt into live action.
Well, it's pretty dark, and so it's weird when it kind of wants to switch over to the lighthearted jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
Not lighthearted, but kind of the joking stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a stark transition there for me. And then I don't know, like Patton Oswalt is like so such a contrast in like
Yes.
how saccharine adorable he is to like everything else that's going on in the moment that it's just a little bit jarring to watch on initially, but I imagine I'll get more used to it as kind of the story goes on.
One of the things I really liked, there's the scene that's like the bloody sequence where he breaks free from the torturer.
Mm-hmm.
I actually love the torturer, the sort of the he's one of that guys. He was in Mad Men.
I
He's
swear he's in House for a while.
yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. He's got this very recognizable face, but him playing the torturer is sort of this amused psychopath.
Yeah.
And his descriptions of what he's going to do to him were really disturbing and also really funny.
Yeah.
And how that whole fight scene broke down, I thought was just fantastic. The action's really good. They're not afraid of the blood at all.
No.
They're not afraid of their cursing at all. Like, this does not feel like a sci-fi show. And oh man, it was so good. I'm super excited to see the rest of this.
I appreciate how it started right at the beginning with Chris Maloney in the bathroom and he takes the guns and like when that happens, I was like, oh, okay, this is going in a pretty heavy route. I'm on board. I can see where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely recommend this, guys. Okay, so The Crown over on Netflix, Ashley.
Yes.
Second season.
Yes.
Did you watch all of it?
So I believe I'm on episode 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only gotten the first 2 episodes in, but I was talking to
season
Kyle.
1.
Yeah, no, season 2.
Of season 2. Yeah.
I've seen all of season 1. Loved it.
Loved it.
And in a bizarre way, because I was like expecting it to be just as much a drag as Downton Abbey or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's not.
No, it's soap opera.
Yeah, but it moves at a much better pace that Netflix knows how to do, and PBS sadly does not.
Yeah. I love period pieces. I think they're super fun. I love the costumes and everything. I love the cars in this. I love all the sets, like all the apartments, all that kind of thing. But yeah, I am a person who was never into the royal family. I didn't know any of these people by name. I didn't know, other than like Queen Elizabeth. I think I may be Princess Margaret, but that's it.
Yeah, and I kind of know Prince Philip.
Yeah, Prince Philip. Yeah. And that's probably about it. Like, I know Princess Diana, but not really, like, wasn't my thing. And now I'm super into it.
Yeah.
They roped me in.
It's funny watching this family because at times I kind of watch it. I'm like, this show does such a great job of making the kind of mundane aspects of their life seem a lot more glamorous and interesting than they are. Like, and Claire Foy, is that her name? Who plays the lead actress? Plays the queen. She has to do so much just staring off in the distance acting and just like emoting on her face while like being so isolated from everyone all the time. I'm like, that's quite a heavy task for her.
It is. And one thing I really liked about season 2 is that you start to see the first people being truly critical of the crown, like the monarchs starting to realize that they need to like modernize, do all of this sort of stuff. And you see her finally kind of breaking from staring off into the distance. And since we've had a full season of that, when she does start getting snarky with people, it's solid British snark, delivered cold, which I loved. I was just like, yeah, tell him, girl. I thought it was super fun.
That's what I like. I like this idea that she's starting to get into the groove and just backtalk everyone and be like, I'm the fucking queen.
Yeah, so I want to say midway through season 2, maybe episode 5 or so, there is a minor lord who gets pretty critical after she gives this speech that refers to the common people, and it's just very. I think one of the characters warned her about the speech, saying it sounded a bit paternal, which was a kind British way of saying you sound like a snotty bitch, and she did. And so this minor lord kind of lays into her, and she ends up meeting with him. And it's an excellent British snark conversation. But she actually takes away some good pointers and ends up kind of incorporating them into how she rules, which is cool.
So I saw some criticism of this show in regards to how much they now focus on Prince Philip in this season as opposed to last season. And some people were a little bit like, oh, why are we getting so much time spending like watching him and his boys club and all that? And I was curious what you kind of think of it a little bit further in than I am.
Yeah, I mean, this is something actually that me and Kyle were talking about. And so Kyle was fangirling all over this shit.
Oh,
and
yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was like, we went to go get burgers and we're like eating, and he would ask me these questions. So what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? And before I could answer, he would fill me in on what he thought. And he has a lot of thoughts on Philip. I think took it a little bit more at face value because the show does such a great job of, on the one hand, showing the kind of gravity of these people's lives. Like, you know, when you have like Winston Churchill around, you have like the Queen around. And so you get a sense that, yeah, these are those huge historic figures. At the same time, it focuses very much on kind of their private life. And I think about if I was in Philip's shoes, how I would be handling all of this. And as a bit of a weirdo, I might have to go take off with my boys club on a yacht for a while too, you know, just be like, I gotta go. I can't take it anymore. So, you know, obviously there's a lot of objectification and, you know, so on and so forth, but I don't know. I kind of took it more, yeah, I guess on face value.
Yeah. I like the character. I like Matt Smith. I find it interesting where they're kind of going with that story, and I think part of American culture right now, I want to see them address that situation in a different sort of tone and context than I know they're going to in this show.
Sure.
I don't expect them to kind of hold him to account for womanizing to a certain extent, but like,
yeah, and I mean, like, the actual reality of, you know, the womanizing and probably the sexual misconduct and things doesn't really come up.
Yeah.
And
it's more the rift in their relationship and
yeah, it's more of that.
The betrayal she's feeling.
Yeah, it really more focuses on that, and you don't really see a lot of it, with the exceptions of there's this kind of like a literal boys club that they have, and they are sexually harassing the wait staff there quite a bit. But aside from that, you don't really. A lot of it is sort of referenced, kind of a deal, sort of as like, you know, 50s kind of.
It's fascinating to me how they take and they're piecing together information from letters from the past, and they're making a biography of these people that are actually still alive. And I'm like, I wonder if they're being consulted on this, or if they just have to watch this show like the rest of us and go, oh shit, that's how you portrayed me?
Yeah.
Or,
well,
hell yeah, you made me look awesome there.
Well, it is a little bit of a trick, right? Because it is historical fiction.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget because there are real life references. And in particular, one of the ones, you know, so, you know, maybe this is a miss by me that I wasn't more offended by the actions of a lot of the men in the show. I think I kind of took it for what it was, as being kind of time and place sort of a thing. But one of the things that was quite shocking, that I don't know the full like actual historical backstory about this, but I guess the king's brother, so Elizabeth's father, his brother advocated the throne, of course, which is why this whole line ended up happening. I had no idea that he was like bros with Hitler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know about that. And so, like, when they're like, yeah, he made some overtures to the Nazis, I was like, oh, yeah, fuck that. Like, he's got to go now. And she's like, yeah, I mean, I want to forgive him, but that's really rough. And then Tommy, who was kind of like the head courtier for her father, who has now, if you haven't watched the show, is retired, but he keeps getting called back because of his expertise with the family and kind of dealing with different issues, and because he's a close kind of confidant. He kind of comes back and he was like, so that's not where it stops. And he kind of lays out the full story of how kind of intertwined her uncle and his wife were with the Nazis during World War II.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was her response, too. So, and that's the kind of thing where it's like that thing, that acting that she does where she kind of stares off into space.
Yeah.
Takes on like, and she's just like, oh, really? kind of an attitude, of course, kicks him out of the country and so on and so forth. But at the end, they actually show some photos, which I think are photos of them, which is sort of shocking. I don't know. So
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about the history behind that. And so that's why it's sort of like, it's entangling me into like going and looking this stuff up in real life, because it's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, like at the same time, I just watched that second episode where Philip gets interviewed by that lady that he's trying to make a move on. She's like, so your sister was a Nazi, and both your sisters were Nazis. what's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that?
He's like, what?
He's
I
like,
thought we were going to shag.
we were gonna bang. Yeah, and he's like, don't let my vanity get the better of me again. Well, and it's weird because it's in some ways we're removed, and in some ways we're really not. And it's happening now, but of course these are like high royalty type people back in the 30s and 40s. Like, of course. And
yeah.
I just never thought about it. I guess it's so crazy.
And just kind of hearing Nazis makes you go, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Extra
like,
paying attention.
Yeah, that's like really shocking and jarring, right?
Especially to us over here. Like, we're that extra layer removed over here.
Totally. And I love Margaret's story. I love this idea that there's kind of like the weird floozy princess who's going to go out and do her own thing, which is great. And so I left off at the episode where she is wanting to marry the photographer that she marries in real life. Mm-hmm. And I believe they're married for like 18 years or something. But the queen sends out some reconnaissance on this gentleman who has a colorful life, lots of women, and what Tommy, the aforementioned Tommy, refers to as unnatural acquaintances as well. So that's where we left off.
Yeah. I mean, the show is really well made. It's really good. And like I said, it takes some scenes that I would be like, that's super, like, if they don't have the dramatic music, the pulling in, the tight focus on facial expressions, I'd be like, this is some lame stuff in someone else's hands, but they put it together and I'm just like gripped by it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I am like super enthralled. Like, as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to go home and watch the last episode. I'm super excited. And also, maybe a little to your previous point, it's also nice to see how far we've come in some ways. Mm-hmm, because, you know, with the atmosphere the way it is, and sometimes, you know, you can kind of get down. It's like, watch period piece. Feel good about where we are.
We have advanced, guys.
We've grown, guys.
We're moving on into the future.
Yeah.
And this seems like a good transition point because, guys, Les and I, a couple weeks back, we got to talk about Future Man. And we both started to be like, I really liked it. I really liked it too. And then that just kept building until we were both like, this is like one of the best things we've seen. And I don't think I included it in my top 10, which is funny.
You didn't. And Ashley was late in watching it, so it didn't mind to make her top 10.
Yeah, but it definitely would have. I loved it.
As a result, it did not make the official TV Dudes top 10 because I used math and science.
Oh.
But it's an official outlier because I loved this show.
It's so good.
So, yeah, what'd you guys think overall?
So I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, I don't know about you, Ashley. When I first was getting into this, I'm like, you'd probably heard a little more hype, but I was like,
I heard nothing other than you told me I needed to watch it immediately, if not sooner.
Yeah, I was like, Future Man. I don't know. It's like from Seth. It's like the Preacher production company. It's Seth Rogen and those guys, and it's on Hulu. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it'll be all right.
Yeah, you're like, how many dicks am I gonna have to look at?
Yeah.
Right.
And I started watching it. And it turns out the answer is a lot of dicks. There's a lot of dicks in it.
They were all fantastic.
And I felt,
or you mean a lot of dick?
A lot of dick. I fell immediately. I fell immediately in love with this show.
Me too.
And it got crazier and crazier because it's such a melange of influence. Like, they dispense right away with Last Starfighter that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like when they come back from the future to tell him, he's like, well, that's the plot of The Last Starfighter. And that's it. That's the last they reference it. Like, they know what they're doing, and then they take a hard left.
Yeah, I think the thing that gets me about this is that, you know, you go in thinking it's going to be like a bunch of trash mouth. There's going to be like some dicks and some like sex jokes and butts and stuff. And so you're prepared for that. But what kept surprising me, what I loved about it, is that they almost never went for the lazy joke.
No.
They were so good. Even like the little subtle things, like one of my favorite moments, I think I told you guys about this, is when Tiger comes home. So if you haven't watched it, basically this janitor,
Josh Futterman.
Yes, Josh Futterman beats a game that's never been beaten. It turns out it's a training thing, and some people from the future come back to recruit him to be a warrior.
Yes, Tiger and Wolf.
Tiger and Wolf. And Tiger, the female,
future freedom
fighter of... She fights things. Her hair's purple.
Yeah, hair's purple.
So this woman comes back in time, and for various reasons, they have to go to this party, and she's never been to a party. And so Josh's mom is helping her get ready. Mm-hmm. And she has this great line where she's just like, why are you being so nice to me? What's your end game, Diane? And it's just like, the delivery is so good. I lost it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just... solid.
The watching Tiger and Wolf adapt to modern and previous times is some of my favorite stuff. Tiger's reaction to the first time she sees a baby, and she's just wants to grab it.
Give me that baby.
Give me that baby.
She's like, it's fine. She's not dangerous. No, I'm dangerous.
And Wolf's reaction to, first of all, learning to cook is fantastic.
Oh my God. So it turns out that Wolf, this warrior from the future, they made him a soldier, but he was born to be a chef.
Born to be a chef.
His relationship with Ed Begley Jr.
Oh man, it's so good.
I love it.
And also, he learns about some important things from the 80s, like blowjobs and cocaine.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he loves cocaine. He sees no downside to it.
No, there's no downside to cocaine. Or having it blown up his ass by his buddy. Yeah. And that episode where he goes back and becomes like a celebrity chef in the 80s is one of my favorite episodes. It is late in the run, and I was already in love with the show at that point. But then you also get Josh's arc, Josh Hutcherson, who's PETA in the Hunger Games.
Yes.
And he's great here playing this sort of hapless nerd type dude who slowly but surely gets so confident that when he does the big interrogation of his like girlfriend from work, you don't even see it coming.
No.
You think she's toying with him the whole time.
So one of the things about this world, if you haven't watched it, is that there are these things called bionics, and they are perfected humans from the future. And research into curing herpes results in our ability to cure everything.
Yes.
And so the government gives this to everyone. And if you refuse it, then they decide to terminate you. They sent some of these bionics into the past. And unfortunately for our starts off half-wit, turns out awesome savior of humanity, Josh Futterman, a.k.a. Future Man, his girlfriend is one of these. And this is the first moment he really shines is during interrogating her, and you just don't even see it coming. It's brilliant.
By the way, they use the time travel really well because they start off doing a very heavy Back to the Future riff. Like they go back to the 50s because they're trying to stop, or they go back to the 60s, I guess. They're trying to stop Keith David's character from getting herpes at a college party. Because,
he accidentally makes out with his mom.
And he accidentally makes out with his mom. Like it takes the Back to the Future a little further.
He does not accidentally make out with his mom. It goes so much more lewd than that.
So yeah. It's so much darker.
I was just like, wow, that's nipple in mouth on the show.
It's hard to come back.
It's not the first time.
It's hard to come back from that one. But then they also do like the thing where they decide the time travel thing where they're okay. Well, we need to stop this guy. We're gonna go back and kill him when he's a baby. And when they do the thing where Tiger goes back and basically becomes her mom, or he becomes her kid.
Right, because so in Tiger's time there are no babies. And
right.
when she's sent back in time, and this family welcomes her and is kind to her.
Yeah.
She stays with them and loves them.
And
of course.
also leaves a knife in his crib to protect himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And develops a killer 1920s or 1930s accent.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's so great.
Eliza Coupe is fantastic in this. She's Tiger, and she's been great in everything I've seen her from. Like she was in Scrubs, like the zombie season of Scrubs after JD and Turk were basically off. She became like the lead, and she was great in that. And then she had a role on Casual.
Happy Endings.
She was Happy Endings. She was one of the main characters in Happy Endings. She was great there. And I thought she was killer here. Here's the thing I did not learn until looking over the recurring cast. You know that Dr. Stu, the dude who looks like every bearded sidekick?
Yep.
Who's also Keenan Feldspar in Silicon Valley?
Harry Joel Osment.
You don't
That's
know who
fucking
that is?
Haley Joel Osment.
You didn't know that?
I did not. That doesn't look like Haley Joel Osment in any way.
Yeah, it does. It just looks like his head kept growing and his face stayed the exact same size.
It's so weird to know that because
We're
now
just
I can
kidding.
see
We
it.
love you.
Yeah, Haley Joel Osment, dude. He also plays Mac when they do that weird celebrity advertisement of It's Always Sunny in
Oh,
Philadelphia.
really? I did not know that.
With Andrew Dice Clay
I mean, it's so much cleverer and more funny than it needs to be to pull this off. Like, it's just really well done. It's laugh out loud funny in every episode.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they could have gotten their money back on just 15-year-old boys alone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
they poured their hearts into it, and it is so good.
There's an extended Top Gun homoerotic volleyball riff.
I know. It's solid.
They cook the dog. They cook Spuds McKenzie.
You know what it kind of like watching it kind of reminded me of is when I went to go see the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah.
Because I never read those comics. I'd never fucking heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I just knew that my friends loved it. and that I was going to go check it out. And I didn't know what to expect. And so then when it turned out to be Guardians of the Galaxy, I lost my shit.
Yeah.
I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this is. Like,
This is
nobody
just
knew what
like
to
that.
expect.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know like where it was going, other than there was a big warning that it was for mature audiences.
Yes,
and that
it
was
is.
it. And yeah, it blew my mind. Like it came out of way left field.
Yeah, I mean, this and Handmaid's Tale, pretty much polar opposites, by the way. But like, Hulu had a great year.
Yeah. I still want my time back for that one episode of Harlots we watched, but
That's
I'll let
fair.
that slide.
That's fair.
I'll let that slide.
All right, guys. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Any other closing thoughts?
No, let's go charge up.
Less is wrong.
Less is wrong. We're
Hard
going to
stop.
charge up.
Blue Bloods forever.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week with our best of the year. So stay tuned for that. We are pretty excited to talk about our TV Dudes Collective Top 10.
Spoilers, Future Man is not on it.
Well, you talk about Future Man, though. We
I
talk
do,
about
but
it
it's
a
not in
little
the top 10.
bit. Yeah. And until next week, guys.
Less is wrong.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Permanent Record Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, please go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes and help us out on iTunes by giving us a 5-star rating and writing a review. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and permanentrcrd.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.